Welcome to this session of Talking Tech, Women and Girls in ICT. My name is Nahita and I'm representing my company, which is Cookups Technologies Limited. I have with me here Rubaba Dowla, who has 19 years of experience in the telecommunications field in the country. At present, she's the country managing director of Oracle Bangladesh and the founder of her own startup, Pulse Healthcare Service. How are you, Rubaba?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Nahita? It's a pleasure to meet you over Zoom.
I'm also well. Thank you very much. I'll just start with a little bit of an introduction and then we can get on with our conversation. Talking Tech is a series celebrating women in tech and is recorded as a series around the world between Girls in ICT Day 2020 and Girls in ICT Day 2021. The Talking Tech series is brought to you by the ITU, UNICC, and the Office of the UN Secretary General Envoy on Youth, and is in support of Equals, the global partnership for gender equality in the digital age. Cookups is very pleased to be a partner of this session today. The goals of the series include to interest and inspire girls and young women with information about a range of ICT careers, present role models in tech and share information about the career journeys and work, offer diverse examples of how ICT is being used to support achievement of the SDGs and other UN goals, and showcase initiatives that are working with girls to support them in technology. It also provides girls and young women in technology with a leadership opportunity to represent and promote their organization to a broader international audience. So to kick this session off, I'm going to introduce you to Cookups, my organization. I'm currently the COO. Cookups is an online platform that connects diners with home cooks. So not restaurants, not commercial kitchens, but home cooks who cook from their own home kitchens. The idea is to bring forth the food that is cooked lovingly at home and is difficult to find elsewhere. We have over 2,000 cooks at the moment, 99% of whom are female, and 95% of our cooks have earned their first dime through Cookups. So the men who are involved with the platform are also breaking gender norms and barriers by hosting and bringing food that they love. Our cooks go through stringent hygiene and quality tests and regular checks weekly. So it's not just anyone and everyone who can join the platform and continue to thrive in it. There's really high quality standards involved. I would like to show the short presentation, which shows Cookups in a nutshell.
By the way, Nahita, I have ordered from Cookups and I thoroughly enjoyed the dishes.
That is very good to know. Let me just show you. So presenting to you Cookups, and these are also our own food. All our photographs are our own. We don't take it from the internet. Very conscious of that. The product is first we do the quality check of our cooks, of their kitchens, their storage places, their refrigeration, and the food that they serve. They then post their offers in the app, and customers can browse and order from the app or the website or from any of the other social media platforms that we're on, so Instagram and Facebook. And then we have our own fleet, which delivers to our diners. So Cookups is not just food delivery, and we don't want to be confused with other food delivery systems, because what we do is we develop an entire generation of home cooks and teach them how to cook food that's great for diners, and then post and share it and promote it. So from photography to presentation, we'll cover it all. The food that we offer is highly customizable. So if you don't see something on the app, you can call us and we'll customize. It's exceptional tasting, and it's recipes that are often hard to find. And I think one thing that we forget when we think of any platform is the sense of community that it brings. So not only for the cooks, who we have 2,000 cooks or so, but also the diners and how they interact with the home cooks on our platform. So it's a thriving community, and we love that. This is a contact us slide, but if you really want to see what we offer, you can see us on Facebook, or get the app on your phone. Um, Cookups and I are passionate about food and female empowerment, and we're using technology, which is such an incredible tool, to further our cause. And now I have Rubaba here, who has had such an illustrious career, most notably as the Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Communications Officer at Grameenphone. She was instrumental in building Telenor subsidiary Grameenphone as number one brand and market leader in Bangladesh with more than $1 billion in revenue from the startup stage. Rubaba, hi again. So I just want to start with how you came about in the industry. So you completed your MBA in marketing, and became a leader in the telecom industry. So how did that happen?
Thank you, Nahita. It's a very interesting question. And I have to go back almost 20 years because I started my career after completing MBA in 1998, and that was my first job actually. And we are talking about telecommunication. And as you know, at that time, telecommunication, we had very little information about it and understanding about it because we really didn't know how telecommunication is going to impact our lives, right? So at that time, it was actually seen as a luxury item. You know, only the ones who could afford a high-end handset and per minute, you know, charge was very, very high, could actually afford a telephone to be able to make calls. And when we started our operation in 1998, and I remember when I went for my interview at Grameenphone, they had just gotten their license at that time, and that's why we say that just started off like a, you know, startup. Nobody knew what we could do, but the main vision that we had was to make it a necessity. Why? Because we wanted to connect Bangladesh. The rural and the urban didn't have that connectivity, and so we wanted to make use of mobile phone. And when I joined telecom at that time, I actually didn't have a role model, especially a woman, to kind of look up to as a female professional in this particular sector. So I really had to learn from scratch, you know, just by joining as a marketing executive at the, you know, the first rank that you get. And then I started off with market research and development. So I did a lot of research. I used to go to the villages, learn about, you know, how they're communicating now. I used to go to the urban areas, talk to people and understand and get that insight. And that really helped me to understand about consumer insight. And I think later on in my career, that has really helped me. So coming back to telecom, in Grameenphone, I remember that in 1998 we just launched. At that time it was called postpaid, right? So you pay after usage, and then you use it. And later on we also introduced something called prepaid, which meant that you could actually control your budget, because we realized that if you wanted to spread it to the different segments across the country to be able to connect through telecommunication, then we needed to give them that kind of benefit to be able to control and be
Flexibility.
within their, you know, budget. So that really helped us to expand the service across the country. And as a result, you probably are aware of Pulli phone, which is called village phone, right? And we even got Nobel Prize for that. We used to give microcredit through Grameen Bank, and those ladies, the women entrepreneurs in the villages, were actually selling airtime to the villagers. so that they could make calls using a phone that was given to that particular entrepreneur, and she could actually earn money by selling airtime. So imagine in 1998, 99, during that time, there are women entrepreneurs in the villages who have access to mobile phone, and they were given microcredit, and they were actually selling airtime to the villages so that they could talk to people in the urban city, especially the farmers who were growing, producing products, and they actually didn't have any idea about the actual market price. So that kind of empowered the farmers. And what we saw through this connectivity of the have and have-nots, the rural community and the urban community, we saw how we changed their lifestyle. So these women entrepreneurs then started building their own businesses. They bought a cow, to start another business. They put up a tailoring store. They gave money to their sons, to their husbands, because they were the main, entrepreneurs who were earning then. And as a result, people started to understand what telecommunication is, what mobile phone is. And later on, as you know, now we have almost 100% penetration of mobile phone. Out of 160 million people, 155 million people have access to mobile phone. We have almost 90 million people who have access to internet. We have almost 40% of our population of 160 million people who have smartphone. So this is the experience that I've gathered in my 20 years in telecom with Grameen Phone, which was the number one company, and later on with Airtel. And my area of work was actually, as I stated earlier, I started off as a marketing executive, and later on I became the chief marketing officer and chief communication officer and management team member. And through this entire time, I went through a roller coaster ride of learning, about the industry itself, about the sector itself, and also growing my career along with it and understand how it can impact. I have seen how we have utilized voice. I've seen how we have utilized data. And today, all we talk about is data, right? Digital connectivity. This digital divide that we talk about, we have been able to actually mitigate that and reduce that gap by spreading internet across the country. And now people can actually have access to information in their fingertips because of the mobile phone. So that's the telecom journey that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no, it's a very evident that you're very passionate about it. So thank you for that. What do you think has been your experience as a female leader in Bangladesh, not only in telecom, but as a female, from an executive to a leader that people look up to?
Um, to be very fair, even the organizations that I have worked, first of all, when I joined, I never looked at myself as whether I'm a woman or a man. I looked at myself as a resource person who needs to learn continuously, who needs to perform, who needs to have the skills and the competences that's required for you to excel in your work. And I always competed against myself, and I'm my biggest critic. So I always thought of myself as somebody who just needs to learn and contribute to the company's, growth and performance. So within those environments where I've worked, I actually never felt um, discriminated by the colleagues and supervisors or people that I worked with. In fact, I think the fact that I had taken a lot of risks and challenges, that really helped me to earn respect. And at the same time, because my attitude was always that if I can perform, that's all that matters. And I really never focused on the fact that what's happening behind me and who is talking behind me, that kind of pulls you down, this kind of negative spiral, right? So I always tried to focus on the positivity. However, when I became the chief marketing officer, you need to be publicly, available in various, events, and you're signing contracts and you're the spokesperson. And at that time, because in our country, people are not that exposed to seeing women in the workplace, especially during those days, right? So that created some kind of perception from outside who didn't know what kind of work I was doing. And as a result, there were, certain negative perception that was created, and rumors that were also spread around. And at that time, I remember that I was quite devastated for a few days, when I heard that people are talking like this. And I just took some time off. And Nahita, at that time I just told myself that today, if I stop myself because of what others are saying, then I will actually stop rest of the other women who are aspiring to be somebody in the corporate field, right? So I can't do that. I can't let that happen. And I really took up that challenge, that I'm not going to focus on that, and rather I'm going to focus on my goals, my achievements, and ensure that people respect women and understand how we are contributing. And as a result, till date, now more and more women are coming into the workforce. More women have joined telecom and other sectors in the other fields where generally women would not come in, right? So as a leader also, what I've noticed is, very few women actually even wanted to take up larger roles, because of course the family comes in, right? So this issue, and I always wanted to coach the women who were working with me, just to let them know that you can actually do it if you're very structured and organized. You really don't have to leave your work if you really want to continue, because there's never
Yeah.
going to be a complete balance. You never have a 50-50 balance. It'll always have to
Right.
be prioritized, right? Sometimes it'll be skewed towards your work, sometimes towards your family matters, but that's how it is, and it's how organized and structured you are. And if you really set your goal, and if you really know what you want, then it becomes much easier for you to stay focused on that. So this is how I kind of dealt with certain issues that I've faced as a woman professional or leader.
And so you've had plenty of those conversations with your female colleagues, as a leader who was showing them the path. So
Absolutely. And I also had to be the voice for them, because sometimes, everybody's not speaking out, right? So if I'm in a
yes,
meeting and if I see that there's another woman who's not probably um, speaking up, right? Or not really, putting up their opinions, I would call them and I would help them to come in. And that also gave that kind of respect to them. And the other people, the other male members of that particular company also felt that no, we have to now focus on inclusion. We have to focus on diversity. And that only adds value, right? So when you have different opinions and different diverse opinions, that only add value to the entire discussion. And that's how I would, help the other women to come in.
right. Okay. So you're now also an entrepreneur after 2 decades in telecom. You decided that you wanted to be in digital technology-based healthcare service. So tell us a little bit more about that. What prompted you to do that?
So again, as I said, that I always want to take challenges, even within the organization in Grameenphone and Airtel. Whenever somebody would say that there's a new project coming up, I would raise my hand and say I want to do it, because I want to just learn and kind of push myself and see how far I can go. And there's no end to learning, right? So after I worked in ICT or telecommunication for almost 19 and a half years, I felt that I've now learned what technology can do. Now it's time for me to give back to the society. And especially in a country like Bangladesh, there are many, many areas where we can make use of technology and mitigate various problems. So I looked into education sector, I looked into healthcare, I looked into other areas, and I found that in healthcare, Nahita, we have doctor to patient ratio, which is 1:3,000. So for every 3,000 people, there's only one doctor. If you take that ratio between specialists, and patient, that would be even wider. If you take that against mental health practitioners and patients, then that would be even wider. And 70% of the population in Bangladesh, they live in the rural areas, and majority of the doctors, we have 68,000 doctors who live in the urban areas, right? Very few good doctors are in the rural areas. So these people in the rural areas are actually going to the pharmacists, or maybe other doctors who are not well qualified, and as a result, they're not
Or
getting
even
the
quacks, yes, exactly.
services. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And you know that countries like ours, the more developing countries, 67% of death happens due to the non-communicable diseases, where the fund allocated is only about 1%. So that means that these non-communicable diseases, which can be actually controlled, which can be reversed if you follow up regularly with doctors. So that's where I thought that why not introduce a digital platform whereby these people from the rural areas or even from the urban areas, they can make use of a video conferencing platform to connect with doctor no matter where they are. So if the doctor is in Dhaka, the capital city, anybody from village or even from Dhaka, they can just download our app for free, register, and then they choose doctor according to the specialization, or a GP, and then they can just set an appointment, make payment online. We have various, fintech operators and online payment and wallet-based payment, which is integrated, and you can consult with a doctor no matter where you are. So what it does is, for the people in the rural areas, first of all, you have now access to qualified doctors. Over phone, now you're able to consult with a doctor. Second is that you're not having to commute all the way and spend money. So you're actually saving cost. The third thing is, of course, when the doctor prescribes, we also have online medicine delivery service. We have online e-prescription. And now during the pandemic, I have seen that the vision I had set in 2018 when I launched Pulse Healthcare Service was to be able to connect people online so that they don't have to commute and they don't have to, wait for follow up and all that. And as soon as this pandemic hit us, the the demand just soared. You know, I saw doctors coming in and telling us that I want to provide the service through the platform. People across the country came in and said that I want to make use of it because, of course, especially people who have a comorbidity or mobility issues, for them to go to doctors now is an issue during quarantine and lockdown. So digital healthcare platform that I've launched is something that is now giving the actual result that I wanted. I always said that I would feel that I'm successful if I know that at least I've been able to connect a patient to a doctor and they've been able to get the right kind of, consultation and service and advice from doctors. So that is what is happening. So we have about 1,000
Are
doctors
you
now.
covering, right? Are you covering entire Bangladesh now, or is
Yes,
it
on
specific
Skype
to?
we have it in Bengali and English, and on Android, iOS, and also on web. So you can access it anyway. And we, even for the people who don't have access to smartphone, we have a call center based doctor access. So you can actually call a doctor 24/7, and you can get access to a doctor and get
Right. So these are partnerships that you've done, like the call centers. Are they, the customer information centers for GP or pharmacies or
yes.
government centers?
Yeah, so we have partnered with many reputed organizations. There's an organization called Burden, which is the largest hospital for
Right.
diabetes, as you
Yeah.
know, and they almost have probably 11 or 15 million patients registered. So their doctors are the ones who give 24/7 service through Pulse Healthcare, and you can call them and consult with them. And we have also partnered with like Mary Stopes, who provide maternal health and reproductive health care, especially catering to the rural segment. And we have almost about 230 gynecologists on our platform. So many women, female doctors have come forward now during this time who are wanting to provide service delivery service. And even from the villages, there are female who probably, maybe one of their family members have access to internet. They're actually asking them
Yes.
that can you connect me to the doctor. So that's how they're actually connecting and making use of this.
Pulse gives each of them the ability to access a doctor with one tap. How easy is it to use? You can quickly browse through doctors for a live consultation. Search for a doctor in the search bar at the top, or pick a medical category and be presented with doctors that specialize in that area. Doctors charge for consultation and set their own rates. The prices are completely transparent. There are no hidden fees whatsoever. If you click on a doctor, you can view a full profile, send him or her a private message, or add them to your favorite doctors. Here, you can also receive a video consultation with a doctor of your choice. You can also send text messages or upload files in our secure HIPAA-compliant file sharing system. To see consultation over images, lab, radiology, and other important reports with your physician, Pulse is a platform that dramatically improves access to doctors with global reach at any time of the day in just a few clicks. And the platform is already available in Bengali and English. Power of Pulse.
Yeah, awesome. You're now the country managing director of Oracle. Um, how do we bring more women into tech? How do we bring women not only into tech but also other fields that are generally not considered, female?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about women in tech, right? I mean, I think when we talk about this digital divide, and especially when it comes to not having more women who have access to technology, earlier days we would talk about the ones who are connected and unconnected, right? The ones who have access to internet. But now when we talk about digital divide, we have to go beyond that. It's not only about access to internet, it's about how we are utilizing ICT, whether we have the right context, whether we have the right means of accessing information, whether we are making use of the information which is available through internet access. That is very important. Worldwide, I've seen statistics that there's almost about 12% women, less women have access to internet compared to men. And for the less developed countries like ours, that percentage changes to 32%. So 30% of the women have less access to internet compared to male counterpart, right? And in Bangladesh, another phenomenon that I see is that, say, in a household, now everybody is doing what? Distance learning, or they're doing virtual office, and they probably have only one laptop or smartphone, to access internet, right? And if there's a male in the house, then that person gets priority, right? So we really have to look at that as well, that are we providing the right kind of access and means so that there's equal distribution, even in within a family, to be able to ensure that the women also get access to online education, because that's what's happening now during this particular time frame. Now, coming back to your question about how we can bring women in tech, first and foremost, I believe that technology is not something that divides us, or it's not an equalizer. It's actually us, how we use it, right? How we use technology. We are the ones who are actually deciding. So we are talking about fourth industrial revolution, right? And if I look at Bangladesh, if I look at the kind of work that women are doing, especially if you look at the garment sector, where we have 4 million workers, right? Out of that, 80% of the workers are actually women. And they are mostly doing more repetitive work, right? Which could be disrupted due to automation, right? Through the fourth industrial revolution, whether it's AI or IoT or machine learning, whatever we are introducing. So when that comes, we have to really think through now, how can we make them, how can we train them, upskill them, reskill them so that they are ready to operate those machines or they're ready to take on some new challenges. Now, in our country, as you know, we have a very young population. 40% of our population is within that age group of 18 to 30, right? And this young population is again divided into 50-50 male and female. And we have to focus on inclusion of female into technology. So we have to think from now how we train them. So an early adoption or investment in girls in STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, is extremely important. And now IT has become an enabler, right? It's not limited to only the scientific field. It's actually anything you do, whether you're working in agribusiness, whether you're working in any retail business, you have to know technology. So I think it. I see it as an opportunity for us because this can actually bring in a level playing field if the women are also equally skilled, because then you can actually make use of their skill to utilize these technologies. So one is that early adoption. The second one, where Bangladesh has done very well, is of course gender parity, right? We have topped in our rank in South Asia. We are number one when it comes to gender parity. And within, according to World Economic Forum statistic, and within the entire 100 list of countries globally, we're the only Asian country who is at the 50th rank. And I think that's a very good indication when it comes to gender parity. But what we have to now look at is sector-wise, do we have enough women working in those sectors, right? For example, in politics, in corporates, in other sectors, and especially in scientific field, do we have enough women? And that's where we have to focus, right? The other thing that I would like to talk about is uh, we often say that male and female working together, are we really giving them the right kind of mindset? Because when you're working, it's a cultural thing, right? In Bangladesh, especially, right? Do we really respect women, and do we really understand how they can contribute? So this contribution is not a moral decision. It's a combination of economic, moral, and political decision. Why? Because when you bring in 50% of the population in this particular area where they can contribute, even through their contribution in the economy, imagine how the GDP is going to. Already, as you know, our GDP growth is very high, which is projected by ADB and IMF, and it's almost at 5.3%, even though they're at this, during pandemic. And even GDP per capita is going to be about 1880 or something, which is going to surpass our neighboring country. So if we bring in more women in the workforce, definitely the economic growth will accelerate. And at the same time, the digital divide that we are talking about, we can definitely also reduce that gap. Worldwide, there's a statistics that the access to information, or the proportion of women having access to internet, is almost 12% fewer than men in more developed countries. And that actually increases to about 32% in more or less developed countries like ours. So which means that even if we have access to information, maybe men have more access to information or internet compared to women, and that is even larger gap when it comes to less developed countries, and we have to really focus on that. And earlier on, I'd also mentioned about means of accessing information, where we really need to focus so that we get equal opportunity to men and women to be able to make use of ICT through these kind of access. So, and the last thing that I would like to say about women in tech and what we can do is, of course, digital literacy. That's also very important. when we bring more women under the access of information, it's important that they also understand how to secure themselves and how to make use of the information that is there. So digital literacy is again another area that we must focus. And I think it's
And this is
time
at
to
the
not
national level, right? This is something
at the
that we
national
must do.
level.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we need those kind of, we need the maverick mindset, the people, the girls should come forward and be more daring and say that we will take on the challenges. And I think we have to work there and give them that confidence, and so that they can believe in themselves. And that's why I think these kind of organizations like what ITU is doing about, celebrating girls in ICT, and talking about what they're doing and what you are doing, Nahita. I mean, that's amazing. We have to inspire more women to come into this field, whether as women entrepreneurs or come into ICT and the workforce, or start their education in the field of STEM.
Right. Thank you very much, Babapa. It's very kind of you to share your experiences. I think we've got lots of information that I myself find very useful and very interesting. And I think that girls and young women who hear you and see you will also be inspired. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nahita. But Nahita, I must say that I'm also very intrigued by your journey. You've just given us a glimpse about Cookups, and I just want to know, because I know you've completed your MBA from Berkeley, and that also right after giving birth to your baby, maybe 4 weeks after that. What motivated you to do that? And then you've become an entrepreneur. You even have a very a good experience working with reputed organizations like Unilever, and even at Catalyst, where you worked with agro products. So tell us a bit about that, and I'm sure that will help us to inspire other younger women to learn
Right.
from you what kind of.
Okay, I think you mentioned the MBA first and how I went right after giving birth. So I'll start from there. I had planned on an MBA for a very long time, for 8 years to be exact. And it was never the right time. Something or the other intervened, and I also thought that I needed more job experience to know myself and to know where I wanted to be afterwards. So I could go to the appropriate school and choose an appropriate curriculum. But the pregnancy was unplanned. so so I just thought that because I had started the process of applying for an MBA and had taken my GMAT and all of that, I thought that this was going to be the time. And I was quite obstinate about it, despite some opposition that I faced, because, I did not think that. An MBA with a toddler would be particularly easier than an MBA with an infant. And so it was never going to be the right time if I did not take the leap. So that's what I did. And as for Cookups, Cookups had shut down, and it has shut down because of a lack of funds. And as a user, as a consumer of Cookups products, I missed it. And so I was looking into my network of friends and founders, um, and wanted to be connected with the Cookups team and see where it went wrong. And this was right after I came back from the MBA, and I was at Unilever. Um, and so when I found the founders, I wanted to know more about it, and they presented Cookups, so to speak, to me and to Chaldal, which my husband is associated with. And so after they had presented that, we thought that it was a great startup to take on, something that we could be proud of, because nobody else was solving the problem that they were. There were other food delivery companies, but we understood Cookups for what it was and what it is, and it's not just food delivery, right? It's empowering home goals, and it's empowering men and women who have a passion for healthy and sustainable ingredients in food. So I think it's more of a food revolution and a women empowerment revolution than just food delivery. And so this was something that I really wanted to be involved in. So again, I think I took that leap of faith and joined as COO. So that was the start of the journey.
And what is interesting is that you said that you had shut it down in 2019, and later on, now even in 2020, you have restarted it, and it means that there's more demand for it now because everybody is ordering online. And why do you think that there's a demand for this?
No, we did see a peak in demand in March and April and May, because there was the start of the pandemic and people were indoors, and they wanted good food, and so they were ordering online. So we definitely saw that, and that continues. Um, However, I don't think we can resort to just that helping us through demand, right? Because the pandemic has not ended, but people have gone out. And so
Yeah.
people have many more options today than they had 6 months before or 7 months before. So it's not something permanent that we can bask on, and so we have to continue to improve our services and expand as we see fit, so that the business also grows.
Yeah, but you've also said that you've introduced app, right? You can do it through, say, Facebook, and then you introduced app. So, what
So
part of this journey you would like to share? I mean, anything interesting that you have done with regard to utilizing technology and how that has helped you to expand or accelerate your business?
right. So I was not the one who introduced the app. So basically, it had existed as a Facebook group, and then the natural transition was to website and to app. So when I came in to Cookups about a year ago, I had those resources. But what I did is that, like in terms of technology, what we're trying to do is actually launch a new app. So we're redesigning the app, and we have a team of engineers who are currently working on it. And hopefully, in a month, we will have the MVP, the minimal product that we want to launch. So that's happening, and when that happens, that's definitely something that I will be very, very proud of, because I've been involved with it from A to Z. Um, but currently, we're making a lot of changes in our admin panel. So in the past year, the back end that we have of the app and the site, without a back end, there's no front end, right? There's nothing that consumers can see. And so that back end, that admin panel, the information that we put in, that has gone through a lot of changes, and making that glitch free and easy to use, that has been something that I've invested in, and quite proud of that. Yeah.
One thing that is common between us is that we don't really have IT background. Um, you've done MBA, I've done MBA as well, but we're utilizing technology, to provide service. Yours is Cookup, where you're giving home cooked food to people utilizing application and Facebook and e-commerce, platform. And I'm using digital technology to provide healthcare service, right?
Right.
So that also tells me that it's not just that you have to study in a scientific field study IT per se to utilize technology. It is an enabler and it cuts through everything. And hence, if you have the interest, you can actually make use of technology, and we can probably encourage more and more women to come into this sector. Whether you have a background, academic background or not, you can actually make use of ICT and technology. So that's very, very interesting. Thank you.
Yes.
It was a pleasure knowing more about your background, and as a young entrepreneur, I'm sure many women look up to you, and I hope we can all work together to encourage more and more women to come into this field and get the benefit of it and reduce the digital divide that we are talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think like the technology background and that kind of a background would have helped. I don't think there's any denial of that. But I think it's more of a matter of, um, are you a problem solver? Do you want to take risks? Are you intelligent and you want to make a difference? And are you ambitious and passionate? Right. So those are more important characteristics, I think. Yes. Thank you.
So, Nahida, what is a piece of advice that you would like to give to other younger women who are thinking of joining ICT or who are already in ICT? What would be your message to them?
Right. For women in tech, I think that the fact that you are in technology, that says a lot about you. So you're already on the right path because you're doing something that's off the beaten path. Um, so to continue that drive and that ambition and confidence, I've mentioned this also. That's really important because it's often the case that life gets in the way for women. Um, and I think women should gather their tribe, their supporters, both in the personal realm and the professional realm, and utilize that network. Really utilize that, so that they can thrive. Because I can't imagine um, working without the help that I get in the personal sphere, and in the professional realm, I have so many different friends in so many different industries who I regularly call and talk to take help, or to get assistance from. So that's really important also.
Mhm. Excellent. I think it's a
And
very,
Rubaba,
very
Rubaba, if I could ask you the same question, I think that would be useful for me to know, and for other young women to know also. What's the piece of advice that you would like to share with women and girls?
uh, first and foremost, what I would like to say is that be fearless. When you're fearless, you're limitless. So don't ever think uh, that you need to clip your wings, you can just fly as high as you want. No matter what you want to do, you can do it. So the first and foremost thing is be fearless and believe in your goal, in your vision. That will take you to where you want to head on, right? The other thing that I would like to mention, which I wish somebody had told me when I was younger, and that is, we are all equal. Yes, my parents had told me that, but when I went into the real world, I could see that there are some, discriminations, or there are some differences.
Right.
So to understand that we are all equal, and when men and women come together, we are a greater force. So it's not about just only women. It's not about only men. I think inclusion of women is a joint responsibility with men, and exclusion is a joint risk. So it's very important for us to understand that bit. And with that thought, individual, we should just focus on our goals and be limitless. That would be my message to the younger women and a younger generation.
Thank you. Thank you. That's an inspirational message. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this
Same,
discussion. Shall we?
Rubaba. Such a pleasure.